our next story, where Pakistan has taken a major step in energy diversification, signing a landmark trade deal to import US crude for the very first time. Pakistan's largest refiner, Cnergyico, will now import 1 million barrels of West Texas intermediate crude from its Vitol this October. The cargo will be loaded in Houston and is expected to arrive in Karachi in the second half of the month. The deal comes after months of talks and US President Donald Trump's threat to impose tariffs on Pakistani imports. The country's finance and petroleum ministries have since urged local refineries to explore US sources. This move marks a shift away from reliance on Middle Eastern suppliers, which currently account for most of Pakistan's oil imports. We are now joined by Adit Kathari, who's a foreign affairs expert. He joins us live from London. Adit, thank you very much for joining us here on the programme. Why is this deal so significant, not just for the US and Pakistan, but also for the region?
So I think, Thomas, if you look at the various media reports that have come out, many of them are calling this a diversification of Pakistani oil imports. But just look at the scenario. Pakistan is basically situated to one of the richest oil-producing countries in the world, the Middle East, and despite that, you're having to import crude from across the Atlantic, millions of miles away from the United States. I see this more as a bribe rather than the diversification of crude imports. It's a 70 million US dollar bribe that the Pakistanis are basically paying to the United States to ensure that their duties are not slashed, because they are in fact their largest export or our largest importer market is the United States. So it is almost like a quid pro quid kind of a deal that the Pakistani government has struck. We do not know at this point how much of the refinery will have to tweak itself to ensure that the United States crude that it imports is refined in the Pakistani, is viable to be refined in the Pakistani refineries. So that is something which we will have to wait until the second and the third week of October, till this import basically hits Karachi and the formal refinery process basically begins, and then we get to understand what the next set of procedures are, whether the Pakistani refineries are going to be looking at the true diversification of its crude imports by importing many more barrels of oil from Vitol.
This comes as a seemingly warming relationship between Washington and Islamabad. What can you tell us about that relationship and its developments?
So I think you've got to hand it out to the Pakistani establishment, because somewhere or the other they've been able to decode Donald Trump way better than many other countries have been able to. But the pain and the bane of this entire decoding is that they will basically have to sell their national assets to Donald Trump and the United States to ensure that they are able to balance the relationship between China and the United States. Because bear in mind that Pakistan and China are one of the closest allies, and China and the United States do not share a very friendly, a very cordial sort of a relationship. So what the Pakistanis are basically doing, or rather the Pakistani establishment, because it works in a sort of a totalitarian sort of a concept where there is no sort of democratic stakeholders. The civilian population of Pakistan do not hold the Pakistani establishment accountable to any standards, which is why the Pakistani establishment is able to sell its national resources, the national assets, to China and United States to ensure that they're able to keep some sort of a friendly and a cordial relationship, a balanced relationship between the two nations. And that is their predominant reason for doing this, is to ensure that they can keep India at bay. So that is where the success of the Pakistani establishment should be sort of applauded, Thomas.
Yes, Adit Kathari, you are staying with us to discuss more updates from the region. Now